Good morning. Apologies for my earlier post. I didn't want to make you retch over the Weetabix or throw up a Lincolnshire sausage or whatever. But I think it is an interesting time when somebody who is so much in disfavour is accorded so much space on a national newspaper, in a national newspaper. So much space and so many photographs. It seems extraordinary. I think Matt Hancock has his place in history. It's not a nice place, it's not an enviable place, but you wouldn't know that really by looking at those photographs. And as you thumb through the pages of the Daily Telegraph, there are other stories, or there is another story about Matt Hancock, a much more interesting story, an analysis of the whole Hancock thing. Let me find out who's written it. It's written. It's an analysis which looks at the impact of Matt Hancock, and written by Jonathan Sumption. It's a good article, but he starts off with the idea that William Hazlitt has said that people either love liberty or power. They love their fellow people, or they love themselves. Matt Hancock, the implication is, falls into the latter category. And the whole business with lockdown was about control and propaganda. But I wonder if, in fact, the government itself has fallen into the business of control, and control in the wider sense. Because when we look back over the last week, at the end of the last week, over the Lineker scandal, the BBC and the national newspapers were obsessed with the Lineker thing, as indeed I was, not with the policy of the Conservative illegal immigration bill, which is heinous. And maybe in focusing on Lineker, the focus was taken away from the policy, both by the Labour government, both by the Labour opposition and by the media. It's not impossible to think this was a put-up job, that this was some sort of or indeed a fortunate coincidence that was exploited by the government to push through. I mean, that debate, the second reading, went by almost without notice. I only heard about it after the event. Quite extraordinary. I didn't realise that second reading was coming up so fast. And have we two things? Have we, one, did we lose the opportunity to analyse the policy that was, in the government's word, pushing legality? How? And number two, the threat of withdrawing from the Convention of Human Rights. There was no analysis about that at all. There was no in-depth study about that on the BBC, or indeed really in the pages of the main newspapers. It seems there was a huge game that distracted from the detail of what Suella Braverman was trying to do. And maybe that huge game was the same sort of game that was being played by Matt Hancock. And Matt Hancock, I think, was delighted to be at the centre of that game. Control and propaganda, as I say, rather than advice. And maybe we are still in hock to control and propaganda, in his words, to scare the pants off people. Government by Frankenstein, or at least by Bram Stoker. What Simon Case called the fear-guilt factor. And I think it's still at play today. I think this is what informs the immigration policy. And instead of looking across at the wider European, the wider global experience of an immigration crisis, we are focused on our own narcissistic experiences and seen through the eyes of Suella Braverman. And I think the proposals which are being made, first of all, I don't think they're going to work. Secondly, they send an appalling signal about our ethics and our attitude to international law and to the wider community. And thirdly, I think it sets up a fight with the opposition, which is deeply unattractive. And at the moment, it's been done even with even in the form of smoke and mirrors. We're not even having the real debate. All we're having is the sloganizing. And that, as I say, may be because of the distraction of Lineker. I just put that out there.